previously. A gamer is summoned into his favorite video game as an overpowered demon lord called Diablo. Two girls who summon him called Shara and Rem take him on a journey to save their fantasy world from evil. After he completed his quest together with Shara and Rem, he continues his journey into unknown. In a wild forest, a female paladin and a priestess are running from someone. A giant monster worm comes out from the ground and eats the paladin immediately. Their pursuer, a red-haired paladin, approaches the priestess and unsummons the worm. The priestess, called Lumashina, starts praying while the man is laughing at her. He throws another crystal on the ground, summoning a monster mushroom that wraps its tentacles around her, capturing her. She then prays for God to help her, and a gray-haired man with horns falls from the sky, crushing the mushroom. We return to an earlier time when the blonde elf called Shara and the cat girl called Rem are walking somewhere together with Diablo, the gray-haired man with horns. Diablo remembers how the two girls summoned him from his world to the world of a video game called Cross Reverie. Since he was one of its best players, he knows everything about the game, now that he is inside its world. They arrive to a clearing where Diablo wants to test a flight spell. He casts the spell at a tree trunk and it starts floating in the air. Sitting down on it, he flies upwards and sees a strong magic source coming from a forest in the distance. While he is flying towards it, the flight magic wears off and he falls down on the monster mushroom, unintentionally saving Lumashina. The red-haired man gets angry at Diablo, saying someone named Vishos ordered him to kill Lumashina. He summons two monstrous worms, one of which burrows under the earth, making Diablo and Lumashina fall into a hole. Taking Lumashina in his arms, Diablo manages to jump out of the hole and destroy the underground worm with a spell. Getting nervous, the red-haired man summons an assortment of different monsters, but Diablo defeats them all, freezing them with a blizzard spell. Shocked by Diablo's strength, the red-haired man gets frozen too. As Shara and Rem catch up with Diablo, Lumashina faints in his arms. Later, Lumashina wakes up in Rem and Shara's room at an inn in the town of Faltra. She tells them she is the head priest of the Holy Church. The head cardinal Vishos, who runs the church, is after her. Here she confronted the cardinals about their greed and questioned the paladin's unjust conduct. Lumashina embarked on a journey together with the paladin triad to find the head paladin, Bada, believing he is someone she can trust. Unfortunately, she got attacked and Triad got killed. Despite her life being in danger, Lumashina wants to continue her journey and visit the city of Zircon Tower in search for Bada. Respecting Lumashina's sense of justice, Diablo, Shara, and Rem decide to help her by escorting her to the city. Suddenly, Clem, the incomplete demon lord, enters the room together with her maid, Edelgard. Lumashina immediately notices they are fallen demons, and Clem and Edelgard notice Lumashina is a priest. Edelgard tries attacking Lumashina, but Diablo stops her, telling her they don't have a good reason to start a fight. As they prepare to leave, Clem enchants Shara's bow with her demon magic, turning it into a super rare ebony bow. Leaving Clem and Edelgard at Faltra, Diablo and the others start their quest towards Zircon Tower. After a 2-week trip, the group sees Zircon Tower coming into view, a city built around an oasis in the middle of a desert. Walking through its streets, the group notices its citizens are poor and miserable. A rabbit-eared boy called Horn calls out to Diablo and offers him his services as a dungeon guide. He describes a nearby dungeon which still hasn't been completely explored, and Diablo realizes it's the dungeon he built while he was still just a player of Cross Reverie. They get interrupted when Lumashina gets into trouble. She confronted a paladin from the Paladin Brigade of the church who refuses to help a poor woman's sick child, telling her she needs to pay. The paladin prepares to strike Lumashina for interfering, but Diablo pushes him away with his magic. Diablo notices the sick child has 8 X marks on its leg, and Diablo recognizes them as the sign of the death knell disease. When the 9th mark appears, the victim of the disease dies. A priest could cure the disease, but they won't help without huge money donations in return. Lumashina puts her hands over the child, saying she will cure it, and makes everyone pray together. As they pray, Lumashina starts glowing in a holy light, and the marks fade from the child's leg, curing the disease. Suddenly, an earthquake shakes the town, and they hear the citizens raising an alarm as they see a gigantic sand whale approaching. Diablo creates a black hole in the sky and makes an arrow emerge from it, hitting the whale. The whale stops and the black hole starts sucking it in, but it is struggling against it. From afar, a gray-haired man launches a flying spear slash, and a red-haired woman fires a magic gun, defeating the whale. The gray-haired man, who turns out to be Baduta, approaches Diablo's group on a horse together with his paladin brigade. They accuse Diablo of being a demon who defied the church. Lumashina confronts Baduta, asking him why the Paladin Brigade is acting so cruelly towards the citizens of the town. Seeing her, Baduda bows down and tells her to excuse his paladin's rude behavior. The red-haired woman with the magic gun appears, flying in the air. Her name is Laminitis, and she is the lord who governs Zircon Tower City. She calls the church swindlers, but Baduda tells her they have to demand large donations since she is imposing heavy taxes on them. Laminitis doesn't care and just wants to talk to the person who cast the black hole spell, impressed by the caster's skill. Diablo finds her intimidating and doesn't admit he cast the spell. He notices Laminitis is only pretending she doesn't know it was him, and then she leaves. Riding in a coach, Lumashina notices there are unusually many people who are looking for help from the priests. Regular people have to wait for days to get blessed or healed by a priest, but the rich people who give large donations have a separate, shorter queue. Baduda says they are short on priests, so they have to favor the people who give larger donations. Arriving at the Paladin headquarters, Diablo's group gets treated to a feast. Diablo notices Lumashina is hurt and she tells him her miracles don't work on herself. Afterwards, Lumashina and Rem talk with Baduda alone. Lumashina tells him she noticed the death knell disease is actually caused by a curse, and that someone is deliberately casting it. Baduda reveals he is the one who caused the disease to spread, but before Lumashina and Rem can react, they fall asleep. Baduda gave them a sleeping drug beforehand. While Diablo and Shera are bathing, Horn calls out to them, saying Baduda has kidnapped Rem and Lumashina. The three of them head out to rescue the girls. Somewhere deep underground, Rem and Lumashina wake up on a sacrificial altar tied to wooden poles. Baduda emerges from the darkness, together with Shiryu, his subordinate. Showing them a green liquid, Baduda explains that is the concentrate from which he produces the death knell disease. He makes it by tempting the church's believers into committing sins and then gathering the evil energy that they produce. Since Lumashina is a holy priest, Baduda plans to corrupt her and produce an exceptionally strong disease concentrate intending to kill Laminitis with it. Shiryu starts approaching Lumashina, but before she starts corrupting her, Diablo, Shera, and Horn crash into the room. Diablo casts an explosion at Baduda, but it causes the ceiling to collapse a little, so he realizes he can't use spells that are too destructive. Baduda comes at him and even manages to cut him. Diablo steps back and sets a trap, but Baduda sees through it and easily avoids it. Closing the distance, Baduda pierces Diablo's heart with his spear, making him fall to his knees. Diablo revives and grabs Baduda's arm, trying to freeze him with a spell, but Baduda cuts off his arm before the ice spreads. We learn that Diablo was able to get up because he had a cape that allows him to survive any attack. Baduda gives Shiryu a signal, and she puts a knife at Rem's neck, but Shera stops her, piercing Shiryu's arm with an arrow. Unexpectedly, the arrow turns her into stone, which is the surprising effect of Shera's new bow. With Shiryu defeated, Horn frees Lumashina and Rem from their restraints. Baduda fires a beam of holy energy and Diablo counters it with a beam of dark energy. Diablo's beam turns out stronger and blows Baduda away. As the cave starts collapsing, Diablo's group manages to exit it in time. Somewhere else, Laminitis is threatened by a man with multicolored hair called Veracnus, the Grand General of the Demon Lord's army. He demands that the people of Zircon Tower City surrender to him, or he will attack the town. Laminitis tells him he is an idiot and tries shooting him, but it has no effect. Veracnus laughs, saying he wants to add her to his harem and disappears. In the distance, Laminitis notices Diablo's group floating on a piece of the underground cave's ruins. Having escaped the cave, Lumashina collapses, revealing Baduda has cursed her with the death knell disease. Since Lumashina can't heal herself, Diablo remembers there is a protective charm that can cure the disease in his dungeon's treasury. He tells Horn to show them the way to his dungeon, but Laminitis' fleet appears and surrounds them. Laminitis asks Diablo if he is the one who sent Veracnus, and Diablo just tells her he is a demon lord from another world who won't let anyone stand in his way. Laminitis orders her soldiers to prepare to open fire, but Lumashina interrupts them, saying Diablo saved the town and he isn't evil. Rem and Shera ask Laminitis to wait until they recover the charm that can cure the death knell disease, but Laminitis doesn't listen and orders the soldiers to capture them. Diablo casts an earthquake spell at the fleet and they run away. 4 days later, Diablo and the others find themselves in front of a large pyramid, Diablo's dungeon. The door to the dungeon opens by itself and they enter. Taking the stairs deeper underground, they reach the first floor, a complicated labyrinth. Diablo simply casts an explosion spell, making a straight line through it. The second floor is filled with slimes, which Diablo defeats with a lightning spell. On the third floor, they have to play a quiz where, if they answer too many questions incorrectly, they get lowered into a lava lake. Unable to answer a lot of the questions, they almost get burned to a crisp, but manage to answer enough of them correctly to advance. On the fourth floor, they find themselves on a stage with a huge audience of humanoid apes. They are expected to sing and dance for them. Diablo calls himself a producer and coaches everyone on dancing and singing. After a while, they start the show, performing it professionally and finally advancing to the fifth floor. Moving along, they reach a rapid underground river. Suddenly, they are attacked by a flying worm. Diablo kills it with an explosion spell, but another worm appears. The red-haired paladin called Jewel emerges behind Lumashina, but Horn suddenly charges him and pushes them both into the river. Diablo jumps after them and finds an unconscious Horn in the water, but doesn't find Jewel. Saving Horn, he emerges in an underground cave where he is forced to burn his cape for warmth. While he is drying Horn's clothes, Diablo realizes he is actually a girl. After Horn wakes up, the two of them continue through the cave. Reaching the last floor, Shera and the others are greeted by Jewel. With a smile on his face, he summons a swarm of fire bees and Rem summons 3 of her own creatures to fight them. Jewel protects himself and restrains Rem's summons, but a sudden strong wind destroys all the spells. A gigantic black dragon descends and Jewel summons Ifrit, the ultimate fire summon. Ifrit, who looks like a man with flaming hair, attacks the dragon repeatedly, but the dragon is unharmed and destroys him with his flame breath. The dragon then hits Jewel with his tail, gravely injuring him. Hey, thank you for staying all the way till the end. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like. It takes only a second, but it means everything to us. Have a great day and see you in the next video.